Hi everybody, thank you for watching Sandra's Art Studio. Today we are going to do a couple of crabs in the form of hair clips, and these are fun little guys. We got two versions. The one version is going to have both of the claws in front, and the other version is going to have the claw attached to the stick. So I'm making both of these with polymer clay, as you see right here. I hope you noticed at the beginning of the video where I have the spaghetti machine and I am rolling out the polymer clay to flatten it, and then I use this kind of like a cookie cutter in the form of a oval, and that is going to be my base for this beautiful hair clip. And I use several tools, but really this is one of those things, whatever you're capable of doing, if you want to go more intricate, go for it. So this is one of those things that you will just observe and develop your own style. One of the things, like just doing the legs, like right now, roll a little noodle and then score sections as you see the legs are, like these little sections. And there you have it. There's your leg. It works much better than just cutting each section and trying to place it, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you know you're going to use holes on your particular hair clip, then make sure that you put those holes before so you don't have to drill so much, okay? And I use a straw that I cut in a 45-degree angle. As you see, what I'm doing right now is that placing those holes strategically so that way when I pass that stick through after shaping my my hair clip, which you're going to see later in the video. So I use any tool that comes in handy when it comes to making these hair clips when I'm actually working the polymer clay part, which this is going to be my master mold, right? So I use sometimes the end of a paintbrush because it's a little roundish to pinch down some sections of this particular hair clip. I use the little knife to cut, not all the way through, but to just make my little cut marks. So that way I can divide my epoxy resin as I'm pouring it into the mold. So you want to keep all of these little things in mind, and you learn as you go. But it's so much fun, and you're not just doing a craft, but you're doing something that's very useful. It's not just decorative, it's useful. You're going to use it to hold your hair up and make a statement. For this model, I tried it 3 times and I ended up using the 2 last ones that I did. I like this one that I held up just a bit ago. So as you see, when I do the body part, I'm actually pinching the sides and I'm flattening it out. And I'll go ahead and reshape as much as I need to reshape. So this one here is actually, I think, the 3rd one I'm doing. And it turned out to be a nice piece, so I used it. And the way that I do these is by looking at a picture of a real crab, and I try to, get as close as I can to the model without going overboard, because, you can just go crazy with the details, but you have to also kind of keep it simple, because when you start pouring the resin into each one of these small compartments, the smaller the compartment, the harder it is to maintain the epoxy resin in each one of those little compartments. So keep those things in mind. Go for the detail, but not too small, because the epoxy resin, a drop of epoxy resin can be too big for your tiny little compartments. Here, as you can see, I am working again on the legs, and I just roll a little bit of the polymer clay, and then I cut it with a palette knife into sections, smaller sections, and then I just score it with the palette knife, and I even roll it sometimes with the end of a paintbrush. So those are some of the techniques I use for achieving the little legs on this crab. But then when I get to the very last legs on the crab, the very back ones that they look like they're kind of flattened little circles, well, guess what? I do little balls and I flatten each one and I kind of like stagger them. That was the best imitation I could do of the back legs. If you guys find that you want more explanation on a certain aspect of any of the hair clips, just drop a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer. This is actually a fun thing for me to do. It does take time, but I enjoy it. And there you go with the little back legs of the crab, which each little section is an actual tiny little pancake. And here I'm just refining and showing off what I got done. And they're ready to get cooked. I put them in a little pan that it's a flat bottom. Okay, it's very important that it has a flat bottom. And we're going to cook it at 275 degrees. If you have a small oven like the one you see in the video, like those air fryers, then you want to cook it for 20 minutes. If you have a regular oven, then let it warm up and cook it for 15 minutes. Once your pieces have cooled off, you want to use a primer. In this case, I use Gesso, which I will put the product in the description. Spray it with Krylon Fusion All-in-One Gloss White. And I will also put that on the description. And then I glue my pieces to this paper plate. Normally I don't use paper plates, but it's all I had that was going to fit properly. And I glue the pieces to the bottom because when you're pouring your silicone rubber, then sometimes the pieces will move around and you don't want that. And also there's a lot less material seeping underneath. So I use the dragon skin, which I will definitely put that product on the description. And here it is after the product cured, and I cut it out with an X-Acto knife. And when I'm pouring my epoxy resin, because let's say the tips of these crabs are red, I'm not gonna, I mean, it's just a drop of this and a drop of that. So I have something else that I can use the red when, you know, I have leftovers. So I always have something else going on, and that way I don't waste so much of the epoxy resin. And as you see here, I use some real nice deep blues and some nice vibrant colors. I use a lot of metallics, micas, iridescent flakes, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I like it to shimmer a little bit. So once everything is done curing and I take the mold out, or I take my piece out of the mold, I'm sorry, then I'm going to bend them to my liking, and I'm going to use warm water to actually give it the shape I want, and then I'm going to use the cold water to set the shape that I like. Also want to mention that I use bamboo chopsticks, and I cut them to the size, and on one side I'm going to have like a 45-degree angle, and that is the side that I'm going to attach my epoxy resin piece. Like in this case, I have a crab claw attached to one end, and the other version of the crab hair clip, I have a seashell attached to it. And I use the same epoxy resin that I'm using to make these hair clips. And as you see right there, I'm using nail polish to just paint the ends so it looks nice and finished. You know, everything looks cohesive when you have it all done. And I hope you guys are enjoying this video, and give me a like and subscribe, of course. And the next time, I think I'm going to show you guys how I did those seahorses that you saw in the video. And getting back to painting the tips of the bamboo sticks, I'm only doing the tips because bamboo is naturally hypoallergenic. It's actually antimicrobial, and it's cooling to the scalp. So personally, I developed a sensitivity to metals in general, unless it's titanium, gold, silver, or niobium. I think that's also a good product for me. But anything else is like my scalp will not tolerate. And that's basically how this whole idea of making the hair clips with the bamboo was born, basically, because my sensitivity, my scalp sensitivities to all these metals, I started making my own hair sticks, and I started using chopsticks, and I noticed that that was like the only thing that my scalp could tolerate for long periods of time. So here's a version of the crab with the seashell attached to the stick, and here's a version of the crab with the claw attached to the stick. How adorable is that? I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you